Hey everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera Show. You know, I love to travel from time to time, but I decided for season 13 I was gonna go big. So guess where I am? You got it, Texas. And we're in Houston at the Sub-Zero Wolf and Cove showroom. And I'm joined today by Chef Colin Shine.
Welcome.
I'm so happy to be here.
We're happy to have you.
I mean, we've just already had the best time. Last night there was an event. You cooked the most amazing tailgating food.
Thank you.
Everybody was just going back for seconds, asking for the recipes. We talked about tailgating and what to do and what not to do, how to keep things warm, how to keep things cold. And then we did a book signing with my new book.
A lot of excitement around that.
I mean, it was just the best time. All right, so today we're gonna do foods that kind of have something to do with tailgating, whether it's at the game or whether it's at home. So tell us what you've got planned for us today.
So we took some things that are centered around and inspired by the Texas State Fair. It would be a big game between Texas and Oklahoma every year, two brand new teams to the SEC. So we're gonna do a green chili tater tot casserole. We've got some buffalo style cauliflower with a cilantro buttermilk, and then we've got some Georgia pecans that we've put in a hand pie with a little Texas bourbon.
Well, I have already managed to taste a little bit of all of this last night. It was amazing. So we've got a lot to do today. Why don't I get my apron on and join you in the kitchen?
Let's do it.
Chef, this kitchen is amazing.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, I just love it. And I am sure that you always have a packed audience when you're doing.
We do our best.
I mean, unbelievable. So we are kind of mimicking the state fair today.
Yes.
So let's talk about this first recipe.
We're going to do a play on a tater tot casserole. It's inspired by a local chef friend of ours, friend of the showroom, so we thought it fit the theme very well. It's got some Southwest flavors with poblano peppers, but I'm going to start by making a quick cheese sauce. It's going to incorporate some onions that we're going to sweat and some butter that I already have here in the pan.
Well, you know, in Augusta, Georgia, tater tots are like every kid's favorite food.
That's right. So this
I love an adult version of this.
Kind of like a tater tot nacho.
Yeah, no kidding. Sounds delicious.
So little onions and garlic in my pan. Going to turn the heat up just to start to sweat
that. Aroma is so great. We'll
give these onions and garlic a minute to just become translucent.
In terms of the state fair, the food there is pretty significant.
A lot of fried items, you know, a lot of things like tater tots and potatoes and corn dogs. So if we get those onions and garlic, we'll get them till they're soft.
Right.
And then we're just gonna make a roux in here. And so we'll add a little bit of flour. This will be our thickening agent. If we had a gluten intolerance or something like that, we could certainly do the same thing with a cornstarch slurry.
Oh, well now that's a really good tip.
We would just do the slurry on the backside.
Okay.
So we would do the onions. What we're going to add is dairy here in a minute. If we had cornstarch, we would skip that flour step and then incorporate a cornstarch slurry to finish.
Okay. Well, and there's a secret as to why we're leaving the tater tots frozen.
They are.
So tell us about that.
So when we get this sauce incorporated, we're going to mix it with our tater tots and some roasted poblanos, which we'll show that as well. But we want the tater tots to be frozen so that they don't just turn to mush. When we incorporate this warm cheese sauce, it also gives us the ability to do some things in advance for time management help.
Okay.
So we don't want to be beholden to the kitchen. We want to be able to entertain and host.
Well, look here, I could be in this kitchen all day long. It's amazing.
That's right. So we've got our onions, our garlic, our butter, our flour. We've given the flour just a minute to kind of cook out that raw flour taste.
Okay.
And then we're slowly just going to start to incorporate our heavy cream.
Ooh, look at that.
And we want to incorporate cold cream with a warm roux. And so that will help us get a nice, smooth, velvety texture. Don't want to go too fast. Just slowly working out all the lumps. We'd do the same thing if we were making cream gravy,
I almost feel like I studied under you, because whenever I do a roux, I talk about the fact that you've got to move slowly, and oh, that's just beautiful.
So labor of love here, not trying to go too fast. We don't want to rush it. And then we'll give that just a minute.
A few minutes.
It'll come up to temp. I'm going to add just a little bit of Texas heat.
Okay.
So a Texas hot sauce, Texas style or Louisiana style hot sauce. You could use any kind of buffalo style hot sauce there. We use, it's actually one that I made. that we fermented in-house, but you could use any your favorite brand there.
Okay.
And then a little Asian Southeast Texas flair. So this is sambal, so it's like a garlic Asian style chili paste. So again, just incorporating all the influences from this area. So we'll let that come up to a simmer. That's when the flour will show us its full thickening capability, and then we'll be ready to mix.
All right.
Okay, so we've got our bechamel, basically, up to a nice incorporated texture. We're going to turn the heat off, and then we'll just finish, and this is how we become a mornay, is by adding our shredded cheddar cheese. And we do that off the heat so that the texture of the cheese will stay velvety and won't break. And so I'll start to melt this in. If you want to work with our tater tots.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me, you know, earlier there was some poblano peppers, and now I see them looking amazing. So what did you do to those?
We roasted those at a very high temperature in the oven, about 450 degrees. We wanted to get a nice char on the skin. And then we put those into a bowl. We covered it in plastic wrap. That helps the skin to steam and humidify, and it just made it easier us to de-seed, to rub those skins off and chop them up and be ready for this casserole.
Okay, so you're gonna throw that cheese sauce in here.
Yeah, if you'll give me, we did half the cheddar.
Yeah, I did half
We're
the
gonna
cheddar.
do half the poblanos there.
Okay.
We've got a little extra jalapenos just for some Texas heat. And then I will add this warm cheese sauce. And we'll incorporate all that, and it'll be ready for our casserole dish.
And I've already sprayed the dish.
Can I add this for you?
Absolutely.
I can always add, never take away, so I'm gonna start with a little bit. Maybe we don't need all of it, and we'll add just a little bit as needed.
All right, so we're gonna get this finished up, get it in our prepared pan. And what are we gonna be doing when we come back from the break?
We'll do a little buffalo cauliflower with a cilantro buttermilk dressing.
The Go Big in Texas. Y'all join us back in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, and if you're just joining me, I'm going big in season 13, and we are in Houston, Texas, at the Sub-Zero Wolf and Cove showroom. And this handsome young man is Colin Shine. He's the executive chef here at the showroom in Houston. All right, so tell us about this next recipe.
We're going to do a play on a buffalo sauce or a hot wing, but it's always a struggle, I think, on some menus for me to incorporate more veggies in this style of menu. So we're going to do a roasted cauliflower. We're going to kind of dust it with some cornstarch, and that'll help it get crispy, just help the texture in the oven. And then we're going to season it up with some paprika.
You know, I love that tip about the cornstarch, that gets it crispy in the oven.
A little bit of garlic powder, and then just some salt and pepper. I'm going to toss this to get all that sort of cornstarch well dusted on there. And then I'm going to dress it with some oil, and that'll just help everything adhere nicely. And then once we roast it in the oven, we'll have a nice texture.
You know, cauliflower is kind of the forgotten vegetable.
That's right.
And so, as you say, you know, with tailgating, there's all kinds of proteins and dips and all that kind of stuff. Cheese. But let's throw some veggies in there so we feel like we were eating healthy during the game.
That's right. So we got our seasoning pretty well distributed, and a pretty good sizable amount of oil, just kind of eyeballing that to make sure that all that cornstarch is...
And what kind of oil is that?
I could use olive oil, I could use grapeseed oil, just something that's going to hold up to a little bit higher temp in there. I don't want to use extra virgin olive oil. That may burn in the oven. That's going to have a point where it's going to burn at a lower temp. So pure olive oil or grapeseed, avocado, something that can hold up that heat.
Okay.
So we've got that nice and incorporated. I'm going to go onto my sheet pan, and then we're going to go into an oven. I have this Wolf oven set to convection at 425 degrees. I think that's going to give me a really nice roasted result here.
Okay, well, you know, when I was writing the cookbook, I didn't know whether to use convection in terms of what to do or conventional. So if they don't have a convection oven, what do you recommend there?
So a couple things. If we don't have convection available to us, We could still use a conventional bake setting. We would just be more aggressive with the temperature. We could raise that temperature at least 25 degrees.
Okay.
Might take a little bit longer. Also, we could use an air fryer. That is a convection system. So if we had that available to us, that would be an option.
Oh, I cannot wait to try this. All right, so the dressing is very unusual for this too.
So very Southwest.
Yes.
A play on a traditional ranch dressing. We're just going to make it a little bit Southwest. So in our blender, we're going to start with some shallots and garlic.
Okay.
And then we're going to add a variety of herbs. Cilantro is going to be our big Southwest flavor.
Yes. So fresh.
That's right. And always a great aroma there. And then we've got a blend of just chives and parsley.
Okay.
And then this is a little trick I have. There's a great online spice company called Penzeys. And Penzeys makes a great variety of dried spice. This is a green goddess blend.
Okay.
So it's going to mimic all those things that would be in a ranch or a green goddess, your dried dill, your dried garlic, your dried onion. So really amplifying those flavors. And I bloom that in a little warm water just to rehydrate everything and bring it back to life.
Another great tip. Okay.
And then last for seasoning, salt, pepper, and a little bit more garlic and onion.
Okay.
And you know, use those as aggressively or sparingly as you like. Okay, and then we're going to finish with sour cream, a little mayonnaise, just a touch of vinegar, and some buttermilk.
All right. We may have to do this during the break, so I will get this completely incorporated in my Wolf blender. And when we come back from the break, I'm going to introduce you to some southern pecans, but you've made an amazing dessert. So y'all stay with us. We'll see you back in just a minute. Welcome back, everybody, and I just don't think it could get any better.
Well, I
mean, you are so talented, and this space is amazing, and you've just come up with some wonderful things. That cauliflower, when I've got the rest of that dressing out of the mixer, and I kind of took a little bit, I mean, that special seasoning, what was it again? Well,
we used a little special vinegar that gave it kind of a nice zing, champagne vinegar, just different from your everyday white vinegar, just gives it a little depth of flavor.
And then the
cilantro, I think, and the Penzeys spice gives it the depth.
The Penzeys spice.
Yeah.
So y'all got to look that up. That's wonderful. All right, so we are getting ready to do a little hand pie.
Yeah, this will be our play on sort of those Carnival, that State Fair fried item, right? The Twinkies, the Snickers, the butter.
For sure.
We're going to do a little pecan and bourbon hand pie.
All right, so tell us about this beautiful dough.
So we put together a quick dough. We cut some cold butter and lard with flour. We had a little bit of baking powder, a pinch of salt, and we added some baking spice to it, some cinnamon and nutmeg. We let it rest. And now we're going to roll it out to about a 1/4 inch thick.
Okay. I loved, because when I was looking at this earlier, I thought there was a little specks in it.
What kind of flour has specks in it, is what you told me.
Yes. What kind of flour did you use?
I had to think about it for a minute, and I went, oh yes, there's cinnamon and nutmeg in there.
Gosh, that's just a great tip, because you wanted to get a little bit more flavor in the dough.
That's right. We felt like when we tried the recipe, it was falling a little flat.
I mean, y'all keep that in mind when you do pies.
And so as you roll that out, we'll go out to about a 1/4 inch thick. We've got about a 4-inch cookie cutter here.
Okay.
And I think that's worked a good size for us. If you wanted to make them bigger, you could. If you wanted to make them smaller, you could. But we're in Texas, so we're going to go a little bit bigger, but manageable. Still a hand pie.
Right.
You know? I've got some that are already cut out, and I'm going to start filling them with our filling. And the filling was what we did with brown sugar. We had some Steen's cane syrup, which is a very southern ingredient. We had a little Caro corn syrup, some eggs, some butter, and some salt. And we brought all that to a boil on the stovetop so we could get that classic pie filling to set up for us.
All right, so this is where you take a recipe and you make it your recipe.
That's right.
Because you did a lot of things, just like putting the nutmeg and cinnamon in this dough to bring that out. And then your first attempt with this filling, you said it was too loose.
It was too loose, and so that's where we did a little research, and we start blending inspirations and other recipes together. So we needed to find one that was cooking it on the stovetop so we could get the right texture we wanted.
part of what was fun about this was we got to ship you pecans.
That's right.
From Fort Valley, Georgia.
Some wonderful.
And our dear friends at Pearson Farm this time of year are up to their eyeballs in shaking trees and getting those lovely pecans, which is what you're using today for that. And then in the spring, we get to work with them with their peaches, which are really great as well.
Wonderful.
But this farm has been in existence for 135 years. Pearson Farms in Fort Valley. And they are actually going to be coming up with me in a couple of weeks. We're going to do some recipes with pecans with them as well. Okay,
Beautiful.
so that's about a tablespoon.
I think so, maybe just shy of a tablespoon. We don't want to overdo it. We don't want them to burst open our little parcels. You know, the last thing I added after we had cooked these, the filling with the sugar and the eggs, and we added the pecans and we let it cook down, we took it off the heat and we just added a little vanilla extract and some good quality bourbon. We used a good Texas bourbon, but again, just added a little flavor. You could omit that if you wanted to.
All right, so now you've done an egg wash around the edges to make it stick.
A little wash, and then I'm just going to crimp them with a fork.
Y'all, aren't those pretty?
As we get these finished, I always like to let them just kind of, again, make them in advance, let them relax in the fridge for a little bit, maybe 30 minutes. You could certainly freeze them. They'll freeze very, very well. And then what I'll do is I'll cut just a small slit in the top to give it a little vent before it goes in the oven. We'll also give it a little egg wash and just some decorative sugar.
All right, well, the presentation is coming up and we're going to knock it out of the park with that as well. And so stick around, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. And Chef, I tell you, I don't want to leave.
We don't want you to leave.
I mean, I've had the best time. I mean, the event last night was amazing. I feel like I've made some good friends. We had somebody that was just taking pictures all over the place.
That's right. We love that. It makes us very happy.
You know, and the food, the remarks of the food, it was just amazing.
We have a great team here.
So, you know, for me, a lot of the energy that I have for what I do comes from the audience. So I think you've made quite an impact on our audience today. And so let's kind of recap what we did. Perfect. And I would love for you to reinforce some of those tips that you gave us.
Perfect. So we started off with our green chili tater tot casserole. We made that cheese sauce in advance. We mixed that with our frozen tater tots to maintain the integrity and the texture of the tater tot. Also gave us a time management ability to kind of make that ahead until it was ready for the oven. Then we went to our buffalo style cauliflower, where we dredged that or dressed it with that cornstarch to help the texture.
I know, it's so crisp, I can't wait to eat it.
In the oven, and then we roasted that off and then dressed it in a buffalo style sauce. And paired it with our cilantro buttermilk dressing that had that pinsy spice and that champagne vinegar to give it a little twist.
You know, I don't know whether you noticed when we were pouring it out of the blender earlier, there was a little bit left, and I kind of took my, this, y'all, if nothing else, you have got to make this. So that would be great on any salad.
Chef's kiss.
Oh my gosh, it was delicious.
And then we finished off with our Pecan-Bourbon hand pies that we had the really high quality pecans from Pearson Farm. We used a really nice high quality Texas bourbon to blend both of our cultures, and just I think rounded off with a really nice dessert that's handheld, really speaks to the carnival or the state fair. I think fits the tailgate very well.
And then the sugar on the top.
Just a little decorative sugar on top of that egg wash, just kind of gives you a little excitement of the palate and also just a great presentation.
Well, last night we had such a great time talking about tips for tailgating. You gave them ideas about the management of time. In fact, I think you started by saying, what's the hardest part? And everybody in unison said,
a resounding response.
Time management. And so that went over very well. And then maintaining the size of, you know, just like we've done today, these are not huge containers to put things in so that you can rotate out and have it ready. But we did, at the end, I said, well, I want to do a stroll. And every little vignette in here is different. It's like you're, you know, in a cozy room with a fireplace and just all the different ideas. But Replacements Limited is a company that I'm working with right now. And we love to showcase, especially this time of year, that if you're Christmas china, or if you don't have Christmas china, or if you don't have Thanksgiving china, maybe treat yourself this year to something to kind of elevate your table and make it look better. And if you need advice on any of these appliances, certainly if you're in the Houston area, we want you to stop by. But, you know, check them out online at SubZeroWolf.com. We certainly want you to do that. But I have a little saying that I do at the end of every show, Chef. And it's, no matter what you do it in good taste. And I think I chose a very good guest today.
That's very
And
sweet.
I certainly want all of you to come back and join us next week. And thank you again,
Thank you
Chef,
for being here.
being part of this
And
today.
including me. Thank you.
Okay.